Welcome to the Unpacking It podcast with Bryce Johnson. It's a show that unpacks sports, faith, and life with intriguing guests from the sports and entertainment world. Enjoy inspiring conversations and thought-provoking interviews. You'll hear stories from people that will inspire, challenge, and encourage you. Now, from the Unpacking It studios in Charlotte, North Carolina, uniting sports fans everywhere, here is Bryce Johnson.
Welcome to the Unpacking It podcast, where we unpack sports, faith, and life with intriguing guests from the sports and entertainment world. I'm Bryce Johnson. Hope you're doing well. Really excited about our guest today, Chris Broussard, one of my favorite guys to have on the show, and I think you'll love what he had to share. We talked NBA, we talked about being a Christian in sports media, and caught up on how his daughters are doing, and also talked about the big summit coming to Charlotte with his ministry, the K.I.N.G movement. So Chris had a lot to share with us today. Before we jump in, let me encourage you to check out our website, unpackingit.com. Catch up on some of our previous guest interviews, including conversations with Clark Kellogg, Jake Robbins, Al Wallace, Matt Stover. Man, we had some awesome guests in the last month or two, and so we're off to a great start here in 2020. And so definitely make sure you subscribe to this podcast, and also be sure to rate the podcast, leave your comments on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to podcasts, and also share it and let other people know about this podcast. We greatly appreciate your support. And you can always send me an email, bryce@unpackingit.com. Always appreciate your feedback and thoughts. Again, that's bryce@unpackingit.com. You can also subscribe to our weekday email devotional. We call it Unpack This. It's a quick thought about sports, faith, and life delivered to your email inbox for free. Just go to unpackingit.com to subscribe. Also, let me ask you this. Do you need health insurance? Well, get quotes for individual health insurance plans at healthmarketgenius.com. That's healthmarketgenius.com. Know your options. And now, let's jump right in. Here's Chris Broussard.
Intriguing guests and inspiring conversations. This is Unpacking It with Bryce Johnson.
And joining us right now on the Unpacking It podcast is one of our favorite guests from over the years. It's Chris Broussard. He's an FS1 analyst, co-host of the Odd Couple radio show and podcast, and he's also the founder of the K.I.N.G movement. And the K.I.N.G Summit is coming to Charlotte March 27th through the 29th. You can check out KingSummit2020.com. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Man, we're doing awesome, and great to catch up with you today, and we're fired up about the summit coming to Charlotte as well. And the exciting part, this is really a national conference, and so for our local listeners, they can be a part of it, but it's also for guys around the country. And so before we talk NBA, we'll talk LeBron and Zion, but share with our listeners about this summit and what they can expect coming up in a few weeks.
Well, the K.I.N.G movement is a national Christian men's movement that I started about 8 years ago. And we hold a national men's conference every year. Last year we did it in Atlanta. The year before that it was in Memphis. And this year, March 27th and 28th, will be in Charlotte or near Charlotte at Transformation Church, Pastor Derwin Gray in Indian Land, South Carolina. So we're going to have some great speakers. I will speak. We will have Eugene Robinson, the great, former great defensive back who won a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks. He will speak. We will have Pastor Derwin Gray will speak. Todd Thomas, who is better known as Speech, from the Grammy Award-winning hip-hop group Arrested Development is going to speak. He's a Christian minister as well. We will have a panel discussion, multiracial panel discussion where we'll discuss, developing racial unity within the body of Christ. We will have workshops on sex, race, money, family, marriage, all from a biblical perspective. Paul Cole, who's an internationally known Christian men's leader, he's the president of the Christian Men's Network. He'll be there leading the workshop. And then to cap it off, we will have a 3-on-3 basketball tournament Saturday night. And so it's going to be a lot of inspiration, a lot of fellowship, and also a lot of fun. So we invite all men to come out. They won't regret it. They can register at King Summit 2020, KingSummit2020.com. And we're just looking to get as many men out as possible.
Man, it's going to be awesome. I'm excited about it, and what a great lineup of speakers, and especially some sports connections as well, and looking forward to hearing you speak. And it's going to be excellent. So KingSummit2020.com to register. And so, Chris, let's talk a little NBA, because, man, this time of year, things are heating up, and following Sunday night's game with the Pelicans and Lakers, I thought that game was phenomenal, and all the storylines that are coming from it. And so for you, you're on the radio every day, you're on these different TV shows on FS1, and you're giving opinions. I'm curious how your opinions are changing kind of as the season is going on in regards to LeBron and Zion, because it seems like they're only getting better, and what they're accomplishing, Zion as a rookie, LeBron at this stage of his career, is only getting more and more impressive. So today, what are your thoughts on both of these guys?
Well, I'll start with LeBron. He is having a phenomenal season, the best 17th season that we've ever seen in NBA history. And just to put that in context, guys that were drafted with him, Carmelo Anthony, he's become just an afterthought in Portland. Dwayne Wade is retired. Chris Bosh retired. So you see some of the best players in his draft, their careers are long over, and here he is still playing like he's smack dab in the middle of his prime. It is tremendous. He's going to lead the league in assists, which that's the first time anyone has ever led the league in one of those major significant categories as late as their 17th year of their career. Shaquille O'Neal led the league in field goal percentage his 17th year, but certainly not in points, rebounds, or assists. So that's a tremendous achievement. The Lakers, obviously, one of the key contenders for a title this year. I do think the Clippers should be the favorites in the West over the Lakers.
You do?
Yeah, and I do think that Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee is the MVP, at least to this point. I think he's having a tremendous year. And while LeBron is the better storyline, 17th year, doing it in the year of the tragedy that struck Kobe Bryant, all the coming back from last year's injury. But the best player has been Giannis Antetokounmpo, especially when you take team success into account. Plus, he doesn't have a second superstar like LeBron has in Anthony Davis. So my vote, I'm an official voter. Right now, I would go with Giannis. And as far as Zion, he's taken the league by storm. I think even not even his biggest supporters thought he would be able to step into the league and do this.
Nope. And
not even his biggest detractors can take anything away from him at this point. I mean, he's playing tremendously. He's built for this day and age because the floor is wide open. It's spread out. The lane is wide open. So he gets to the rim. It's easier than ever to get to the rim. And once he gets there, there's nobody really that can stop him. So the numbers he's putting up in limited minutes really are just phenomenal. He's actually helping them win more, too. You just got to hope he can stay healthy. And if so, he and Ja Morant, who's also, been a tremendous rookie, they're going to they're making this a great draft class That's for sure.
Yes. No, I'm with you as far as, because I'm a big Duke fan, so as much as I loved Zion coming in, I didn't expect him to do this much, this fast, to have such an impact, and it's been incredible to watch. And really, I mean, he's become must-watch television. And I'm curious, as an NBA guy, do you feel like people still, with Giannis, like I'm trying to figure out why more people aren't engaged with Giannis the way we are with other players, and even the Bucks. Like, the Bucks are clearly the best team in the East, maybe the best team in the league, especially their depth and the number of just solid players that they have on that roster. But even for me as a fan, I don't always find myself, I got to go watch the Bucks. What do you make of that, and kind of Giannis and the Bucks and kind of the lack of hype around the Bucks?
I think there's a few things. One, they're in Milwaukee. So they're obviously a small market in the Midwest. That doesn't help.
Yeah.
Two, with Giannis being from Greece, I think he obviously speaks English, but there's a little bit of a language barrier. And even though he obviously communicates well, the language barrier, it doesn't always happen this way. You know, Joel Embiid clearly has great charisma, but that can limit a person's charisma. You know what I mean? Like, because you may not be quite as comfortable with the language or whatever, or the culture. And so Giannis, as great as he is, he doesn't have, at least to this point, hasn't displayed that charisma of a Joel Embiid, a LeBron James, that's going to attract players or attract fans to really get into his story. The NBA nowadays, and sports in general, is so much about storylines. You know, that's one thing that's helped the NBA rise to its great popularity, is that there are always these storylines. And there really isn't a storyline like that with Giannis. And so I think that has those two things, I think, are the main culprits in why he hasn't captured the imagination of the American fan. And to be honest, and again, Joel Embiid may be an outlier, but I think this has been one of the challenges baseball has had, when a lot of your better players are international. You know, it may be harder for the American fans to latch on. They know they're great, but again, there can be a language barrier, a cultural barrier. And now with the NBA, you know, you wonder, can that be an issue? Now, Luka Doncic is playing great. I think he's captured the imagination of people. I just wonder going forward, you got to watch that. You know, I've brought up the point, can an international player be the face of the league? And again, I think Joel Embiid could, because he does have a really charismatic personality. But it's going to be an interesting thing to watch and see if, you know, the NBA's never had an international player be the face of the league. Hakeem Olajuwon was the best player in the league when Michael Jordan was gone, but he never really fully captured, you know, just took the league by storm in terms of popularity. I mean, he was well known. He was an all-time great, but those ratings with the Knicks, when they played the Knicks, weren't very high in the finals. Tim Duncan, another great international player, never obviously captured the imagination of the national fans. So it's just something to look to see how it develops.
Yeah, because, well, it's interesting with Embiid. I don't find him as likable. Like, I think Giannis is really likable, and when you do listen to him in interviews, he's got kind of a fun personality, and you're kind of drawn to him. But when it comes to, here the Bucks are on TV tonight, it just hasn't gotten to that level yet, which is just interesting. Whereas Zion, and maybe it comes down to, we watched him in college, and even like with LeBron, I remember watching him in high school, so we kind of already knew LeBron coming in. Whereas Giannis is just taking us a little while to catch up to what he's doing. And
well, and the other thing, because you're right. I mean, Giannis is incredibly likable. I mean, you can't help but like him. He's such a nice guy. But he also took a while. You know, he came in the league. I think his first year he averaged 7 points. So he kind of developed into a superstar over time versus a Zion or a LeBron or Dwayne Wade or Kobe Bryant, guys that came right into the league, and either their first year or their second or third year, they were an all-star.
Yep.
You know, and to your point, Zion, not even just college, but we saw Zion, a lot of Americans, certainly young people, saw him on social media, doing all these crazy dunks. So that certainly helped his popularity as well.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I guess at the end of the conversation, though, we're in great shape with NBA, the future stars, and it was just cool Sunday night with LeBron. Hey, he's still the guy. He's still the leader of the league. But to know that a young guy like Zion is there and ready to take the torch whenever LeBron's ready to give it up, it's there. So
Zion's certainly going to be the face of the league. But you got, as far as who's going to really be that best player, and I'm not even, talking about Giannis and Kawhi and guys like that, but that younger generation, in addition to Zion and Ja Morant, you've got Luka Doncic, you've got K.I.N.G, you got Jason Taylor emerging in Boston. I mean, there are some outstanding young players in the league right now.
Absolutely. I felt that way, especially kind of following All-Star Weekend with the Friday night game with the freshman, sophomore guys, and then even during the All-Star game with guys like K.I.N.G making the All-Star team. So and Tatum too. Yep. Good spot for the NBA for sure. Well, Chris, every time you come on, we love talking faith and family and life as well. And we're just kind of looking at your website a little bit and just recognizing that, man, you're a great leader, especially with what you're doing with the K.I.N.G movement. And I'm curious how you personally grow and continue to stay fueled so that you can stay sharp as a leader and you want to invest in other guys and you want to bring up this next generation of leaders as well. So what do you do for your own spiritual growth, your own personal development?
Well, of course, continued, study of the Word. Obviously, you're busy. It's interesting. When I was younger in the faith, and I got saved at 21, I had so much more time because my career wasn't where it is now. And I really I was all in the Word, deep into the Word, and extra biblical works as well. And that really, I guess it's similar to your education in the natural world. As a younger person, that's when you go to school. And then that schooling, that stuff you learn kind of carries you throughout the rest of your life once you become an adult. And so obviously the basis that I set in my early years in Christ, that really is my foundation. A lot of scriptures I memorized back then and stuff like that. But obviously still every day I get into the Word in some way, shape, or form, whether it's just a devotional or whether it is actually reading the Bible itself and prayer. And then just really I've been focused the last few years on spiritual warfare and have grown a lot in that area and just knowing how to, claim and walk in the victory that Jesus died to give us on the cross. And so just claiming his word, standing on his promises, not whether it's quoting the scriptures or just reciting those scriptures in my mind so that I can walk in the joy and the peace and the victory that Christ gave us. And so all of those things are, really helping me sustain where I'm at spiritually and grow even stronger, which is, necessary as with a lot of the work I'm doing with K.I.N.G and, you definitely have to keep your armor on, so to speak, and make sure you stay geared up and strong in the Lord.
That's right. And what about just kind of that, to continue that, this being Spirit-led each day and, walking into, for you, the media world and being a part of the sports world and the trappings that come from that, but also the temptation to, love the attention, to love your own name continue to grow and your platform continues to grow and your influence and all that sort of thing, the trappings from that and remaining, grounded, Spirit-led. How do you keep the awareness of that and stay sharp in that regard?
Yeah, it can be a challenge. I think for me it's just, remembering, my wife, you know how wives do. They can keep you humble.
Oh, I know all about it. I know all about it.
When you think you're something special, they keep you humble. But I really just understanding that, and some of it's just related to the way when I came to Christ, which was at 21 years old, understanding that no matter how much success or wealth that you gain from the world, it's not going to be anything without Christ. And I mean, obviously in the afterlife, we know that that's the case. But I'm even talking about on this earth. That stuff is empty without Christ. And so that helps keep me rooted and grounded, that no matter how much material gain or whatever you may have, or popularity, fame, whatever, without Christ is not going to fulfill you. And you're not going to have that joy and peace. And fame, and I obviously I have a degree of fame. I found that, like, what I like best about it is the platform it gives me.
Yeah.
To use to try to minister to people and be a light and a witness. And then even also just in a secular way, when you're speaking at a school or something, just trying to help people in positive ways, even if it may not be related to the gospel in some instances. So I love that. And I found that outside of that, like fame, and again, I'm not saying I'm Beyonce or, LeBron James or something like that, but obviously I have a small degree of it. I tell you what, fame, like I said, the platform you have is great. There are fringe benefits that come from it, like people giving you stuff or, taking care of you here or there, with a meal or whatever it may be. But really outside of those, and then if you get money, obviously it's nice to have money and be able to live comfortably. But outside of that, so many people want to be famous. And I would say you have to know why, like, what do you want to be famous for? If it's just to be, have people call your name, is it just for people to, want to reach out and touch you when you walk down the street or whatever? Because if you don't have, like, a legitimate reason why you want to be famous, then fame can destroy you.
Ooh.
We see that all the time. I mean, whether it's people getting addicted to drugs or some other vice, or, I mean, obviously you've seen recently some suicides, or just not being happy, whatever it may be, fame is not all it's cracked up to be. And so many people just want to be famous. They want their name in life. And you better have a good, legitimate reason. I look at even like a LeBron James, and obviously he's got great fame. And you see what he does in addition to, just his great play as a basketball player. He's using his fame to help people, to build a school, to create businesses that create jobs. Some of his childhood friends have become moguls because of opportunities he's opened up for them. And I think that's what you need. You need things like that when you are a famous person that you use your fame for. Because if it's just going to be, to get your head all swole up and, you feel like whatever you want, I mean, it really can destroy you. And again, we've seen ample evidence of that in people's lives being destroyed. So I just, I just thank God that, he's in my life, obviously, and that he's been able to give me perspective on that. So when you have that perspective, it certainly makes it a lot easier to stay grounded and rooted.
That's right, and having your wife keep you in line too. So that's good. Well,
right.
well, along those similar lines, you're an outspoken Christian in sports media, and there aren't a ton of those guys out there, a few, but you're willing to put yourself out there. So what are the challenges and blessings of that? And specifically, I guess, when it comes to even your interaction with other media members and the response from fans that, know your faith when they're watching shows or listening to your radio show, that kind of thing. What are the challenges and blessings that come with that?
Well, when I go to arenas, to this day, I still get people, acknowledging my faith and thanking me for it, or, saying they agree with me or they like my example or whatever it may be. Those that don't like my faith probably don't say anything to me
Yeah.
when I'm in an arena or anything. So there's that. One of the great things about The Odd Couple, if you listen to it, is that the whole premise of our title of our show, The Odd Couple, is that Rob Parker, my partner, and I are different.
Yep.
And in our introduction, it talks about how I spend my Sundays, my weekends in church, and he'll spend his Sundays, maybe at a strip club. I hate to even say it that way, but, that's really what it is.
Wow.
And so we actually, we can play off of our differences. And so it does, allow him. I mean, he doesn't talk about strip clubs all the time, but, that's a part of what he may do. And but at the same time, I'm able, we have every day, we name a day for him. Magic City is a place he likes to go. It's like a bar club he likes to go to. So we have Magic City Monday. So all the music that comes in and out of the breaks on the show is like music you might hear in that type of place. Well, on Wednesday we have Worship Wednesday.
Ooh.
And so all of the music that comes in and out of the break is Christian music.
Love it.
And so you give and take. I mean, we allow Rob to, talk about, obviously it's national radio, so it's nothing dirty or anything like that, but enabling him to, this is who he is. On the flip side, I get to share, this is who Chris is. And so it keeps, it just built into the program is the fact that there's this Christian guy. That's part of my persona.
Yeah.
The show now. And if you've listened to the show, I mean, we're not talking going to strip clubs or going to, church. That's a very small part of the show. It's like any other sports show in that we talk sports. We talk Tom Brady. We talk LeBron James. We talk Dak Prescott. We talk all that stuff, baseball. But part of Rob's persona is what his personality and the things he likes to do, and part of mine is that my faith. And so that just enables it to kind of always be present. And so those listeners who identify with that, I think because you know how it is, you don't see many outspoken Christians today.
Yeah.
Or people where that's a part of their persona. And so being out there and people know that that's who I am, but yet they can, even if they're not a person of faith, they can relate to me in terms of sports or music or things, we talk about on the show. I think that's a good thing. And I think it even gives people of faith, shows them, hey, you can be a person of faith and still, have a place in this society, which sometimes you can wonder about that,
Yeah.
I think there's that. And, as far as other, with dealing with other media members, I never throw the Bible in people's face. I'm never jumping on people about their lifestyle or whatever it may be. So I think people appreciate that, but they know I have the faith, and if they want to talk to me about it, we can certainly talk about it. And then a lot of guys have known me over the years, and they've just known this is a part of who I am. But we can relate on so many other ways. So it really hasn't been, I haven't experienced a lot of negative with it. Again, do people say things behind my back, or if they have certain feelings, they keep them from me? Maybe, I don't know. But I really haven't experienced too much negative with it.
Man, no, that's encouraging to hear, and I love your radio show. I think the chemistry between you and Rob is awesome, and it's just cool that each of you can embrace who you are and not have to shy away from it, and that you can be open, with your faith, which is huge. So,
right, and it shows that it's not about being judgmental either.
That's right.
Because I may disagree with things Rob does. He may disagree with some of my beliefs or things I do or don't do or do. But, yeah, we're great friends. We have fun on the show. Because a lot of people, as you know, Bryce, get that misconception that, you know, oh, if you're a Christian, you can't be friends with somebody who's living a certain lifestyle, or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's not like that at all, as we know. And so I think our show is kind of a good example of that.
I think so, too. I think it's cool. It doesn't mean that, you have to go to the strip club with him, but you can still.
Right. No, I can't do that.
You can still work with him. And
he's invited me. He's tried to get me many a time, but I told him I can't do that.
No, that's why you got to keep that armor on. That's for sure. That's
right,
spiritual armor. But no, it's an interesting perspective and kind of cool that Fox Sports has put you guys together the way that they did. So man, we'll keep up the great work with all that you're doing media wise and leveraging that to create this platform and movement with King. And so keep up the great work from that side of the ministry piece of your life too. And so we're excited for the King Summit coming up March 27th through the 29th, KingSummit2020.com. And last question, Chris, how are your twin daughters doing?
Man, thanks for asking. They are great. They keep me humble too, but they're doing well. They're actually about to graduate from college in May.
Wow.
One is graduating with a double major in like film, media study, and communications from University of Michigan. And the other one is graduating with a degree in psychology from the University of Pennsylvania. So they're both doing well. They're both on the dean's list and doing well in their faith too, growing in their faith. And so I'm very proud of them. And I tell you what, I first and foremost, I'm just happy for their success and their happiness, and you know, the fact that they've achieved this great accomplishment of graduating from college and doing well, and also the next phase of their life, you know, stepping into their careers. But I'm also excited to get that financial bill off of my back too. Because, man, college is expensive these days.
Especially double at the same time. That's tough.
Oh, man. It's going to be like I got a new job without having to work extra, you know?
That's pretty good. Man,
yeah,
well, enjoy that. That's awesome. Well, Chris,
yes.
Thanks so much for joining us on Unpacking It today, and look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you, and I want to remind guys again, if they want to play ball at the summit, you attend the summit, everybody that attends will have a chance to play. It's a 3-on-3 tournament, Saturday night, March 28th. There'll be trophies for the winners. You can have 4 players on your team, but 4 to 5 players if you want on your team. But we've had some good competition over the years, so I encourage everybody to, you know, get out your sneakers, start running a few laps, and get ready for the basketball tournament as well as the summit overall.
I love it. Is it 3-on-3 half court or what?
Half court, definitely.
Okay. Yep. All right. Cool.
We don't want guys falling out.
No, that exactly. So that sounds pretty good, man. Well,
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
That sounds awesome. So it's a full weekend, lots going on. Find out all the details. KingSummit2020.com.
Intriguing guests and inspiring conversations. This is Unpacking It with Bryce Johnson.
Always great having Chris Broussard on the show, and he's one of our regulars. Even though it's been a while since we've had him on, he's been on a bunch over the years, and so always enjoy the conversation and excited about the King Summit. And I really do love his radio show. It's on 7 to 10 at night, so I'm actually not in the car at that time much anymore with little Maddie. But so my schedule is different. But man, when I used to listen to it, they go back and forth. It's very interesting and cool to hear kind of the thoughts behind it. And I just appreciate that Chris, He's consistent with his faith. He doesn't, shy away from his faith. He's stood up for things over the years, and it's who he is. And that's what it is. Like, that's what it's about. When we're followers of Jesus, that's who we are. You can't turn it on or turn it off. That's who we are. So that, of course, should be a part of his radio show. That's the foundation of his life. He's looking through that lens, through a biblical lens. So whether it's, talking sports or talking music or talking family or faith, it's through that lens. And so him and Rob, they're coming at, Rob's looking at it from a worldview, but they can do that, show together and offer different opinions. So it's interesting. And so I think it's an encouragement to us. I was actually just reading this morning this book, and the chapter was about we're ambassadors for Christ in culture. And so we're still representing Jesus in the culture, but we're in the mix oftentimes. We're with people that, are different than us and have different perspectives, but we love them, we show them grace, and we show them who Christ is in us by the way we talk, by the way we interact, by, our views and opinions and thoughts and our joy, our peace. All of that shines through, and people can notice that. And so whether it's people listening or watching Chris Broussard, talk sports and all that kind of thing, it's his approach. It's the way he handles himself. And I think it's important for all of us to be encouraged by that whatever we're doing, how we handle the boardroom and how we handle tough clients or tough customers at work and how we handle our kids and how we deal with neighbors. And if we say we're a follower of Jesus, it's people are looking, they're watching, they wonder how we're going to respond. And so when Christ is in us and we're living, relying on him, it's going to make a difference, and we will shine through. And so good for Broussard, and love that he's able to do intentional ministry as well. That he this is a nationwide national ministry with the K.I.N.G movement. And I actually spoke at one of their chapter meetings. And a couple weeks ago, we had the Charlotte president, Steve Stack, on the show talking NBA All-Star game. So love what they're doing. And the one other thing I was going to share based on what Chris talked about was him talking about his wife keeping him humble. You probably heard me laughing and agreeing with him. My wife's the same way. My wife is so loving and caring and supportive and encouraging, but she also keeps me humble. She also keeps me humble. And as soon as I start saying, oh, yeah, guess who I interviewed today, or guess what I did, or hey, easy. Settle down, calm down. Okay, cool. But, she keeps me grounded. So thank you, sweetie, for keeping me under wraps. So glad that Chris identifies with that too. So it's good to have a wife that keeps you in line. Thanks to Chris Broussard for joining the show today. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Unpacking It podcast. I'm Bryce Johnson. I'm a sports fan who follows Jesus. I believe in the good news that he died on the cross for my sins. He was resurrected, and through faith, I have been saved by his grace. I hope that is true for you as well, and I hope you'll join me as we live life as sports fans who follow Jesus together. Have a great one. Talk to you next time right here on the Unpacking It podcast.
For more information about the show, our events, and other resources, visit unpackinit.com. That's UNPACKINIT.com. We hope you are encouraged, inspired, and challenged by what you heard today. To support our show and Unpacking It Ministries with a financial gift, visit unpackinit.com/donate. We look forward to unpacking sports, faith, and life with you again next week.